Jessie. Just gonna put this like I would normally.
Okay. Go for it.
Adjust the height of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do whatever you need to do. Well, once it's in the right position, Jess, you just give us a bit of groove, just to prove that it's playable for you.
Okay. It's really loud when it's not really quiet. Really makes me feel sure. I have to drag everything close.
Okay, good. Well done. Great stuff. You just come and have a seat on this seat here, Jess. Okay, cool. Right, I'm just going to ask you some questions, Jess, okay? So, Jessie, what are the health and safety considerations you should take into account when playing the drums?
I first always sort of make sure that I've got ear protection because I don't particularly want to go deaf anytime soon. I actually use filtered sort of custom ones. Mine are actually known as the extreme ones, and they take like I think it's minus 15 decibels out roughly of the sound, mainly due to the fact that I actually play a lot of loud a lot of loud music, but also because my kit at home is actually in a very small room, so it's not great the sound, so and like loudness, but and volumes. But you can also have like over ear protection, and they're better suited for like rehearsal sort of situations, because if you just keep taking out the in-ear ones and then putting them back in and then taking them out, it can actually start really hurting your ears after a while. If you just had the over-ear ones, you can just sort of like get them out of the way. The in-ear ones are really good for like when I'm on the stage and performing a lot. You do have others like little mouldable ones that you kind of roll in your fingers and then you put them in your ears. They're quite good, but they just don't. They take out probably sometimes a little bit too much without, and they can't filter it out really. So you may lose a lot of sound that you need. But yeah, so that's ear protection. You also got you need to do warm-ups before you're playing, because if you don't warm up, you can actually cause damages to like muscles and tendons. So I think you get tendinitis and other not very nice things like that in your joints, and you can really strain your muscles. So like if you don't warm up properly before, like because like say when I'm playing like pop punk, it can be fast on like the cymbals and hi hats, and when I'm like playing around. So like I really want to make sure that I'm all warmed up for that, so I don't hurt myself. You've also got to have the correct posture when playing. You've got to make sure that you're sitting up straight, with your back straight. You've got have to have both feet on the pedals balanced out as well, so you don't go flopping or anything. You don't want to be stretching either, so like you got to make sure you're up straight. You're not stretching for anything, and feet are balanced on both the pedals. And you've also got to be careful with the drum kit in general because it's actually quite heavy. So you can actually injure yourself when picking things up, so you've got to make sure that you pick things up correctly, you know, like with a straight back and bent knees instead of bending them back, because again you can get really bad back injuries with that. So.
Okay, good. Right, Jessie, you talked about your warm-up routine. Can you describe your warm-up routine, what you actually do?
I tend to play around the kit a lot. I tend to warm up when I do warm up before, like I warm up my hands, like because my hands are always really cold and you shouldn't really ever play with cold hands. So I tend to like really sort of flex my hands, get them loose and warm them up as much as I possibly can before going onto the drum kit. But then when I get onto it, I tend to play around it. Like I'll play like 4s around and then 3, 2, 1, and then I'll do it again. I do that about 4 times roughly. I also tend to do like rudiments, like mainly on the snare, but if I need to be a little bit more quiet, I'll tend to either do it on my legs or the hi-hat. So I'll be like doing like paradiddles on my legs, or I'll do it on both the snare and the hi-hat. It kind of just gives, not only does it warm like your hands up, it also kind of gets your arms ready to be doing sort of different things at different times as well when you're playing. Yeah, that's basically my warm-up routine.
Okay, so Jessie, we saw you setting up your drum kit then. Can you list some of the considerations you make when you set up a drum kit?
I try to make sure that I'm not stretching out too far when I'm, like, especially on the crash and the ride, because I personally quite use the crash quite a bit. Like I said, like I play like things like pop punk where the crash is actually crash and the ride are used quite a lot in like the choruses and like the build-ups and stuff like that. So I like to make sure that I'm not stretching out too far so I don't do any damage to myself. I also like to make sure that the snare's at the right height, because if the snare's not, then it makes it really difficult for me to play. And like I don't want to be hunched over it, and I don't want to be like hitting my legs or anything if it's too low. I don't want to be leaning back or trying to like really lift my hand and my arms up to be able to get onto the snare, so I have to try and make sure that that's at a right height. I like to make sure that everything's actually quite close. I quite like it when I'm quite snug in the drum kit, so it's like I quite like everything where I can just sort of like go around and like not really have to do that and do that. It's just like a quite nice comfort sort of bits of the drum kit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What drum kit do you play, Jessie, and why? I
currently own a Boston starter kit. It's literally the most basic kit you can possibly get. It has about this, I think it's a 16-inch ride, crash sort of, kind of built into one, and it's got like a, I think it's a 14-inch hi-hat, and that's like as much as cymbals go. It's literally like just 2 things. I do have a splash as well, but I don't play it because I can't actually. I'm missing a few bits on it, so I can't play that yet. As for the toms and snare, my snare is just a regular 14 sort of thing, but it's for me the 14-inch one. But for me, it's too deep and sort of in depth. I quite like the thinner ones. Mine's a 6.5. I quite like the 5.5s. I don't know why. It's just a random preference. And as for like tom one, I've got, I think it's a 12x8-inch one. Again, it's still a little too sort of, you know, too much in the depth for me because I quite like the thinner toms. And my tom 3 is a 13x9, and my floor tom is a 16x14, I think. Yeah, 16x14. My bass drum is a 22. Inch one, so it's actually quite a large bass sort of drum. But if I'm actually quite honest, I quite enjoy the larger bass drums because I find that they have like a slightly deeper, and I quite like the deep sort of bass sound. And although it's a really good kit, it's really good for practicing. Although it's quite basic, it's like, for practicing things like my rudiments when I get home, I can just get the snare and put it on my lap and I can just practice that. Or I can just sort of sit by on my drum kit and just practice the different assignments that we get and like the songs that I'm doing for the concert thing, like the Easter concert.
Okay, good. So what maintenance do you carry out on your drum kit?
Maintenance, I make sure that the tension rods are nice and lubed up because like I don't want them to like get stiff or anything or like rot or like rust or something like that because they're quite important. So I like to keep and other moving parts like the pedals. I like to keep them sort of lubed up so because I don't like that squeak that you get with it either if you don't lube them up. It's not nice. And I tend to just do general cleaning on my kit as well because for some reason it tends to get really dusty really quickly. So like I make sure that like it's genuinely just clean all over because I don't want any dust like sort of getting stuck in crevices, and it kind of I've heard that it can actually really damage the kit. So I don't want that happening. So I also tend to check the heads as well because I play a little bit loud, I tend to hit it quite hard. So I do like to check to make sure that they're not breaking or warming or anything like that. So I check them quite a lot. So,
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesse, over there's a snare drum. If you could just go and get it and put it on your lap and then talk me through the bits of the snare drum as you understand them.
Just one sec. I know that you've got the rim.
Yeah.
And then you've got the batter head. You've got the shell here. And you've got the tension rods this bit here. Tension rods this bit here. Then you've got the lug, which is that bit there, and you've got lug posts. I know that underneath here you've actually got this bit here called the actual snare, and then you've got the resonant head. Yeah, I think that's all the parts to
Okay.
kit. To the
Can you talk me through how you would change the batter head, Jesse?
I would cross sort of detension the rods, so like I can get the rim off, and I'll take the rods out and take the rim and the head off. I would then clean the rim, make sure that there's no dust sort of stuck in there. I'd also clean that sort of the top part of the shell. Cool. Yeah, I'll clean that bit there, make sure there's no dust sort of as well. I also quite like to clean inside because because now that I've got everything open, there's probably stuff in there now. So I like to clean out the rest of it as well, just to make sure everything's fine in there. And then I'll lube up the tension rods again, nice to make sure that they're nice and easy to go in. And then I clean the new head, making sure that everything's fine in there. Put it on. I don't want it too sort of tight or too loose, so I'll do a quick sort of test by like spinning it around, making sure that like you can just quite easily spin, but not fall off sort of as you spin. And then I'll put the rim on, so it's nice and so now that, and then put the nice lube tension rods in. And then I'd do like a finger sort of pinch technique, but I do cross tensioning to tighten it all up. So like I put my finger in that bit and then I'll sort of do little turns until it pinches my finger, like on the opposite bits. So, and then I'll tune it up to how I like. So.
Okay, good, well done.